What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking WWE Timeline, the episode on Triple H versus Seth Rollins. Now, this episode came out well over a week ago. I'm just now watching it. That's how backed up I am on certain stuff, watching stuff on the network. And there's been a lot of WWE Network content in the last week. So I promise all the reviews will be up at some point in the next couple days, week, whatever. But I really enjoyed this timeline. Now, at one point, I think it was titled Meet Your Destroyer, or maybe that was just the alternate title. I like that a lot more than just Triple H versus Seth Rollins. I like the names they come up with for these episodes, but this was simply titled on the WWE Network, Triple H versus Seth Rollins, and it was still very, very good. So obviously focusing on the Triple H-Rollins rivalry dating all the way back to 2012, which I was not expecting. I mean, obviously their feud didn't start then, but their history did. So the first thing they show is Seth Rollins winning the NXT Championship, beating Jinder Mahal, yes, Jinder Mahal, in the finals of a tournament to become the inaugural NXT champion on an episode of NXT TV back in August of 2012. The two people that congratulate him in the ring and hold up his hand, Dusty Rhodes, who was a big influence behind NXT, the NXT on-air GM at that point, and Triple H. Triple H was also there to congratulate Rollins on becoming the NXT champion. So Rollins from there, mere months later, while still the NXT champion, mind you, goes on to debut at Survivor Series 2012 in the main event alongside Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns as The Shield. One of the coolest debuts of the decade. You know, attacking Ryback, making their mark in the WWE Championship main event, helping CM Punk retain the title. Great moment, great debut for The Shield. They go on to have great success as a trio, of course, dominating the six-man tag team ranks, winning championships, becoming tag team champions, Ambrose becoming United States champion, beating John Cena, Sheamus, Big Show, Randy Orton, you name them, they lost to The Shield. By 2014, though, they made an enemy out of Evolution. Evolution reunited to take out Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns. Evolution being Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton. So they go on to have two matches. One at Extreme Rules 2014, which was a great match that The Shield won, and a rematch at Payback 2014 as well. I drew a blank on the name of the pay-per-view for a second. And that was also a great match. In the main event of that show, it was a no-holds-barred elimination six-man tag team match. A clean sweep for The Shield. They were bona fide stars on that night. The highest their careers had ever reached up to that point. And the very next night, Rollins turns on The Shield. On my birthday, no less, on June 2nd, 2014. I didn't watch it live. I think I watched it later on in the night. I went out to dinner for my birthday or something, and then I came back and I watched it, and I was heartbroken. I'm like, no, I don't want The Shield to break up, but they did. It was the plan B that Triple H was talking about. So Rollins joins the Authority in return. He cut a promo the next week saying that he didn't sell out as the crowd thought he did, and they were chanting during his promo, but rather he bought in his words. Later that month, he went on to become the Mr. Money in the Bank, which would earn him a future WWE Championship opportunity anytime, anyplace. He held on to that briefcase for almost 10 months, winning it in late June and cashing it in ultimately in late March. So I guess 9 months, almost exactly. So he cashed in the contract, obviously, very memorable moment here, in the main event of WrestleMania 31, by beating Brock and Roman in an impromptu triple threat match to become the all-new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Had a great reign, wasn't booked all that great towards the end. He did lose a fair share of non-title matches on TV, I remember that. But he was, for all intents and purposes, booked as a very strong champion early on, beating John Cena multiple times, beating Randy Orton, Sting, facing Brock Lesnar, having great matches with a variety of talents, Neville being one of them. Had some very good matches with Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose in a ladder match, again facing Brock in a pretty fun match at Battleground 2015, beating Kane at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. He had his fair share of very good championship defenses during that point in time. But ultimately, he did get injured before he could defend the title against Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, which was very likely going to be the end of his reign. But he lost the championship, or had to vacate it before then, due to an injury that he suffered at a house show. Just a freak injury in a match with Kane overseas. Had to vacate the belt. He was gone for 7 months, or more approximately 6 months, because he got hurt in early November, came back in late May, so I guess a little closer to 7, but nonetheless. He came back at Extreme Rules 2016, another show I was in attendance for. Amazing show, closed out with Rollins attacking Roman Reigns in his grand return to WWE. Was cheered out of the building, of course, because he was gone for so long. They didn't show this part here on Timeline, but he did go on to, challenge for the championship and Money in the Bank and won before losing right after Dean Ambrose. He did fail to become WWE Champion again at Battleground and again at SummerSlam, although that was the Universal Championship match against Finn Balor. So his luck wasn't exactly the greatest upon his initial return to the company. So he had one more shot at the Universal Championship on an episode of Raw late August of 2016, a fatal four-way match after Finn Balor got injured as well, actually, and he had to vacate the belt. It was a four-way between himself, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, and Big Cass. One of those things ain't like the other, but those were the four people in the match. Cass was gone early on. Roman Reigns got eliminated after Triple H came out and attacked Roman, allowed Rollins to pin him because Triple H and Roman had bad blood from WrestleMania that year. And it looked like Triple H was going to help Rollins win the championship before he didn't. As he set up Kevin Owens, he picked him up, he turned around, hit Rollins with the pedigree out of nowhere. And it was a great moment. The crowd went nuts, and it was a babyface turn essentially for Seth Rollins, who was already being cheered anyway. It made sense. And Owens, it was his time to be the Universal Champion. Now, his reign wasn't booked the greatest, but it was a nice little, moment nonetheless. It was actually a great moment in the moment. People went nuts. They were really happy for Owens. It set off the Triple H Seth Rollins story. It was a really, really cool moment. Until the fallout, we didn't see Triple H back on TV for another 4 or 5 months. So any momentum they had from that moment, they cut short immediately, and we didn't really see much of Rollins talking about Triple H in the remainder of 2016. Instead, Rollins focused his efforts on getting that Universal Championship from Kevin Owens. So what he did do before the pay-per-view, he walked up to Stephanie McMahon, and he told her, why would you guys do this? And she said, I didn't know he was going to do that. I had no idea, blah, 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 obviously bullshitting him. And he goes, listen, if I find out that you double-crossed me on purpose, I'm going to be a living nightmare. I'm going to be the worst nightmare, your worst nightmare. So he goes on a challenge for the championship at Clash of Champions against Kevin Owens and loses after a referee bump. Stephanie brings in a new ref. Owens pins Rollins. The match is over. He fails to win the championship. They didn't show it here, but he did again fail to win the championship back at Hell in a Cell, although that was due to interference from Chris Jericho, so that was a little different. So we see Rollins do a sit-down interview with Michael Cole, and Michael Cole was still doing those weekly sit-down interviews, which I missed because I thought those were great. And that was towards the end of when they stopped doing them. He did those for 3 years straight on the website, and they were always very, very good. But during the interview, Rollins asked him, do you feel replaced in your relationship with Triple H by Kevin Owens? And Rollins says, listen, you can't replace Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens is just a cog in the machine. I will get that championship back, and I will have my revenge. Obviously, he didn't right away. Months go by, he walks up and confronts Stephanie on Raw, the final Raw of 2016, December 26th to be exact, and said, hey, where's Triple H? You probably got him a nice new jacket for Christmas. You got him a nice new NXT suit, NXT pajamas or whatever. But where is his manhood? Where is Triple H's manhood? Where is he to confront me and tell me, to kind of suffer the consequences for what he did to me a number of months ago? And Stephanie's like, he's busy, blah, blah, blah. So Rollins gets no answers. A month later on Raw, Rollins has a match with Sami Zayn where the winner earns entry into the men's Royal Rumble match that Sunday. Just as Rollins is about to win, Triple H's music hits. Not the King of Kings music, the game music, which is way better in my opinion. The crowd goes nuts. They're thinking Triple H is coming out. He doesn't. The music merely played to distract Rollins. It wasn't really about Sami winning, although Sami winning was cool. It was more about Rollins not being in the men's Royal Rumble match. So Rollins is furious. And that leads to him showing up at NXT TakeOver San Antonio that Saturday to confront Triple H. And I thought that was awesome. That was a really cool wrinkle in the story. People weren't expecting it. He shows up, his hands are fucking shaking. He's that pissed at Triple H. And we've all felt that at one point or another. Seth Rollins felt that here, and I thought that was a really nice attention to detail. But yeah, so he cuts this great fiery promo calling out Triple H. I'm going to show up at your home, blah, blah, blah. Triple H actually walks out onto the stage. But before Rollins can get his hands on him, security comes out. Rollins tries his best, but he can't overcome him. And he gets tossed out of the building. The next night on Raw, Rollins confronts Stephanie. And he kind of goads her to the point where she's like, listen, you'll get Triple H tonight. He's going to kick your ass here tonight on the show. So Triple H comes out. He cuts a promo. And he cuts a promo basically saying, listen, Rollins, you had all of your greatest success by my side. And it was because of me that you became as big of a star as you did. And that when you came back last year, you came back as a failure because I wasn't by your side. You lost to Money in the Bank. You lost to Battleground. You lost at SummerSlam. You kept losing. So without me, you were a loser. For all these months, you calling me out, I tried my best to hold back, Triple H said. I tried my best to be the creator, to create the future. And we see clips of Triple H in NXT, developing talent, blah, blah, blah. But now, it's time for you to get your ass out here so you can meet your destroyer. And I did not, I'm sure I picked up on that at the time, but it's been so long since I've heard that promo from Triple H, which was a great promo. And it's a great line because he's calling himself the creator, but he wasn't referring to himself when he said the destroyer. Instead, as Rollins walks out, we come to find out it was Samoa Joe that he was talking about. Samoa Joe blindsides Rollins out of nowhere in a great debut, beats the shit out of him, locks in the Cohina clutch, and as he does it, Rollins tweaks his knee, tears his MCL again, I think in the other knee, which it's like, oh man, this guy can't just catch a break. Rollins cannot catch a break. But that was a cool debut. Joe had been in NXT for about 2 years at that point, so to see him on the main roster was an awesome moment. It put the WrestleMania match in jeopardy, because they didn't know if Rollins was going to go or not. And that was a shoot. They did not know for sure that Rollins was going to be good to go by Mania. It's actually a miracle when you think about it that Rollins was able to get cleared to compete at that show, because that was a pretty serious injury. So in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, we don't really hear much from Rollins. Triple H and Stephanie continue to abuse their power on Raw, firing Mick Foley as the Raw GM. Triple H is about to beat the shit out of Mick Foley when Rollins makes the save with crutches in his hand. So he tries to make the save, tries to go after Triple H, and he can't. He gets his ass kicked. Triple H said that where Rollins went wrong was when he started listening to the crowd. And listen, if you want me at WrestleMania, you got it. But it's going to be an unsanctioned match, because when we go in that ring at WrestleMania and I beat the fuck out of you, and I break your leg or break your knee or whatever, and I end your career, you can't sue me, you can't sue my wife, you can't sue the WWE. This match will be unsanctioned, no holds barred, anything goes, no harms agreement or whatever the fuck, no harms hold agreement or whatever the verbiage that he used was. So Rollins agrees to the match. He comes out the next week and says that he was proud of who he was before he met Triple H. And he questions what he gave up. He questioned himself after joining with Triple H. And this was such a great promo, and I feel like people don't give this feud enough credit because it wasn't consistently great. There were a lot of points where they were just dead weeks of no progression with the feud. But when you put it all in one place like we saw here, it really was a great feud with some great storytelling. And these promos were really, really good. Like Rollins, I think, regardless of what you think of his current character as the Monday Night Messiah, which I enjoy, with Rollins, I feel like he's had one of, if not the best character arc of anyone in WWE for the past 10 years. Like, all of his turns have made sense. All of his stories largely make sense. It's awesome. So he says here he wants to beat Triple H. It's his goal to beat the game at WrestleMania so he can get back to being who he was before he met Triple H. Triple H attempts to attack him here by pushing the table where they were signing the contract on into Rollins' knee, but he was unsuccessful. Tried to injure him, but he couldn't. So that gets thwarted. Leading to WrestleMania that Sunday, they had a pretty good match. Not a great match, I would say. It was very long. And maybe it was because Rollins had just come back from injury and they were playing it safe. I don't know. It was a fucking no-holds-barred match, so how safe could you be? I remember enjoying the match. It wasn't as great as it possibly could be. Probably would have been better had Rollins not been injured twice, but it was still a pretty good match. Rollins wins, and they recap the entire thing here on this special. It's like an 8-minute recap of the match. So Rollins wins, he beats Triple H with the pedigree, Stephanie gets sent through a table. That was the last that we saw Triple H and Stephanie in WWE TV for a long time, like until late 2017, which was very refreshing to say the least. So Tom Phillips, who narrates this thing, mentions how Rollins went on to achieve greater success, achieve every accolade possible, winning the Intercontinental Championship, winning the tag titles, winning the Royal Rumble in 2019, beating Brock Lesnar to get back that Universal Championship at WrestleMania 35. But Tom Phillips says that it was this win over the game that solidified Seth Rollins as one of WWE's premier superstars. Now, I would argue that was already the case, but nonetheless, it's a nice little narrative to tell for this episode, which I thought was great. I really like the mix here on Timeline of the older feuds like Bret and Owen, Rick Flair and Randy Savage, Mickey and Trish, the Rock stuff, in addition to the new stuff too, AJ Styles, John Cena, Christian, Randy Orton. They've done a lot of recent rivalries as well, so the Miz and Daniel Bryan, and now this one. So be sure to check it out right now on WWE Network. It's called Triple H vs. Seth Rollins, this edition of WWE Timeline. And I apologize again for the delay. This should have been up a couple days ago. I know the episode actually aired on the network. It went up last Wednesday, like a full 9 days ago, but I'm just catching up now. All the other content should be up soon enough, so bear with me. But you can check out all my other WWE Timeline reviews right here on the channel in the description box down below in the playlist entitled WWE Timeline Reviews. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. And that's about it, guys. So have a great one. I'm Graham G. Matthews. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll catch your ass down the road.